we are recording the Teaching of Pronunciation Interest Group Professional Development event. We are the teachers of pronunciation, and as you know that, we are the tops. So as you are introducing yourself in the chat, and we know that we have people from all over the place, yes, I'd like to also introduce to you our leadership for 21-22. I am your co-coordinator along with Randy Reitmeyer. Introduce yourself, Randy.
Hello, everybody. Thanks, Marcia. I'm Randy Reitmeyer from UC Santa Barbara and co-coordinator this year of the Top Interest Group.
Yes. All right. And joining us soon when he's available will be Patrick Mrozic, who's our assistant. And we see that we have quite a few people who are CATISO members. That's wonderful. Some of you who are guests and you're wondering, why would I want to become a member of CATISO? Well, because membership in our vibrant community of California teachers of English to speakers of other languages is really cool. And you'll have access to the peer-reviewed language publication CATISO Journal. We also have monthly, or more than that, CATISO update announcements, discounts to regional and state conferences, free access to an unlimited number of interest groups like ours, top levels and chapters. And of course, you'll have interaction, networking, learning, and teaching with CATISO members at conferences and other events. We will be going back to our face-to-face event for our annual conference 2022 in Pasadena next September 29th. Mark your calendars for next fall in person. If you're a member, you'll also have access to the job bank in case you're looking for a job and to some teaching resources. We have opportunities and awards, money, and grants for both teachers and students as members of CATISO. Today's event is really special. We're going to be talking about the nexus between spelling and pronunciation. So, like a lot of times when we're teaching English, whether it's pronunciation or any other aspect of English, we think about the difficulties of teaching how to spell and how to read or pronounce words when we see them on the page. And some people go like, oh, there's no kind of rhyme or reason, but there really are some rhymes and there are some reasons. We are so lucky to have Adam Brown here to talk about this issue. He's an expert in this area and he's made some publications. So he's going to give us a chance to test out a few exercises. So let's bring on Mr. Adam Brown. Now tell us where you're coming in from and what you're going to do with us today.
Okay, well, thank you very much and welcome everybody. I'm coming to you today from my home, which is in Auckland, New Zealand. So, good morning to everybody. Well, it's rather strange because for you it's Friday morning, but for me it's Saturday morning. Well, you have an international dateline and that's why, yeah. Welcome from New Zealand.
Tell us a little bit about, how did you and I come together? And tell us more about you.
Right. Well, I've only met Marsha half an hour, but in fact, I've known her for what, 20, maybe 30 years? Yeah. As you can probably tell, I come from the UK, so I'd like to say a special welcome to Anna, who is from Sheffield in the UK. Yay! Sheffield, the home of the Full Monty, if you've seen that film. I originally come from a place just south of London called Epsom, which is famous for the Derby horse race. You've probably heard of that. This is a coincidence because I now live in a suburb of Auckland, which is also called Epsom. This one is named after that one. Yeah. Yes, I went to university in Edinburgh in Scotland. I got my PhD in phonetics from there. And then very quickly realized that there aren't many jobs in phonetics, and especially not the sort of theoretical phonetics that I was doing. So I very quickly transferred into English language teaching, but since my background was in phonetics, taking a special interest in pronunciation. Yeah. My first job was actually in Thailand, Chiang Mai in northern Thailand. The next one was where? In Singapore. Then I went back to the UK for a couple of years to Aston University, which is in Birmingham. Then went to Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur for a year, and then to Singapore again. Altogether, I've spent about 19 years in Singapore, and my wife is Singaporean. And then 16 years ago, came to New Zealand, Auckland, and at the beginning of September this year, I retired. I'm of retirement age, as you can probably see. However, knowing exactly when to say, yes, I'm going to retire is a decision to be made. And of course, with COVID, all of the international students in Auckland have dried up. So lots of people were being made redundant, and this was the time for me to retire. So I'm now retired. The reason I know Marsha is because we are both in an online pronunciation discussion group called Supras, which was originally set up by Judy B. Gilbert, who's a name I imagine many of you know. Yeah. I met Judy way back in the early 1990s, I think it was. Okay. And that's when Supra started, and Marsha came on board fairly early as well. So that's how I know her for so long. Okay, when Marsha asked me to do something about for this Katisol top session, I thought, well, top is teaching of pronunciation. Surely every time somebody talks to you about pronunciation, it's pronunciation. I'm not saying pronunciation is not interesting, obviously. However, I thought it might be interesting to do something a little bit different, namely spelling, but it certainly has direct implications for pronunciation. Yeah. In any case, I imagine all of us, we're English language teachers. So, we teach English language, not just English pronunciation. So spelling and all of the other aspects of English are of interest to us too. Yeah. I hope you've been able to download that handout, which Marsha has just loaded up, because today I'll be lecturing a little bit, but I'll also be going through 3 exercises, and you can take part and you put yourself in the shoes of your own learners. Okay, so let me start. To start off with, let's talk about spelling. I don't know if any of you know other languages other than English, but there are basically 3 different types of spelling systems. Firstly, and the obvious example here is Chinese, Mandarin, yeah, where the symbols in the writing, which are normally referred to as characters, Chinese characters, represent whole words or phrases or whole morphemes, but they don't give the reader, such as a learner, the information from which to derive the pronunciation. Yeah, this is often called logographic. Logo meaning word, graphic meaning writing. Yeah, so the symbols represent whole words. Secondly, and the main example of this is Japanese, what are called syllabaries. In fact, Japanese has got 3 alphabets. It uses 3 alphabets. It uses Chinese characters. But there are 2 other alphabets known as hiragana and katakana, which are syllabaries, where the symbols represent whole syllables. So not just, they do represent the spelling, but they are indivisible syllables. In other words, you've got a symbol, but you can't say this part is the vowel consonant and this part is the vowel. It's indivisible in that sense. So that's syllabaries, as in Japanese. And thirdly, alphabetic writing systems, which is by far the most common, and of course is the one we use in English. We're using the Roman alphabet. So in alphabetic writing systems, the symbols in the spelling, and we refer to those as letters, A, B, C, D, etc., represent the individual consonant and vowel sounds, phonemes. We're all most familiar with the Roman alphabet, A, B, C, D, because we use it for English and for many other languages. But there are other alphabets in the world, Arabic, Thai, Cyrillic for Russian, and so on. Okay, so those are the three types of writing system. Logographic, Chinese, syllabary for Japanese, and then alphabetic for most languages. One of the consequences of this, and I've been teaching lots of Chinese students here in Auckland over the last 16 years, Chinese characters need to be learnt by heart. This is why, Marsha, I asked you earlier on, do you actually speak and write Chinese? They have to be learnt by heart, the characters, yeah, as indivisible units. And the problem with that is that you find that some Chinese learners carry this over to English. So they learn the spellings of English words as indivisible units and ignore the letter to sound correspondences, which are clearly there. I keep finding that some Chinese students, you know, they spell a word this way, and I think, no, there is no way that that spelling in English could represent that pronunciation in English. You've obviously learnt this by heart. So those are the three types of spelling system. And English is an alphabetic system, but it is the worst example of an alphabetic writing system. I used to say English is probably the worst example of an alphabetic writing system. But then I taught at Aston University in Birmingham in England, and I had a colleague called Chris Upward, UPWARD, who has written quite a bit about spelling, who challenged me and said, well, Adam, can you actually give me a spelling system that's worse than English? And I honestly couldn't think of one. And he said, no, he can't think of one either. So it's the worst example of an alphabetic system. Now, in a perfect alphabetic system, there would be a one-to-one correspondence between the letters in the spelling and the sounds, the phonemes, the vowels and consonants in the pronunciation. And vice versa between the sounds and the letters, because we have two directions here, right? Letter to sound and sound to letter. However, English is not like that. I imagine you're all pretty well aware. English, it's a many to one and a one to many. Frankly, it's a mess. Largely for historical reasons, okay? I'm not going to go into those historical reasons in this presentation, yeah. Now, I'm getting the idea that most of you are in California. Yeah. Can I say a hello to Maya Leon Mace, okay, who I recognize the name as another Supra. Hello to you. Well, many of you are in California, and I imagine, therefore, you're quite familiar with Spanish. If you see an unfamiliar Spanish word in writing, for example, on a sign, I imagine that you can work out how it's pronounced. And you'll usually be right. Yeah, because Spanish has pretty much a one-to-one correspondence between letters and sounds. Yeah. And for that reason, teachers of Spanish don't spend a lot of time in the classroom teaching the spelling of Spanish because it's so easy. Yeah, Can somebody just confirm that that's correct? Yes, okay. Let me tell you about my wife. My wife is a Malay, yeah, and Malay has a similarly regular spelling system, yeah. The reason for this is because it has been managed, yeah. There have been reforms at various times so that there is a nice regular system. So at my wife's parents' house and so on, I can sing along at family karaoke sessions in Malay. Yep, because I know the letter to spelling correspondences in Malay. Yep. I don't necessarily understand what I'm singing. Yeah, I don't know all the words and so on. Okay. But I'm pretty sure that my pronunciation is okay. Yeah. And when you think about it, that's the way spelling systems ought to be, isn't it? Yeah. That, you know, the purpose of a spelling system is to help you to pronounce things correctly and to be able to write what you say correctly. The problem is you can't really do that in English. Let me give you a personal example. Yeah. Since I've been retired, I've been watching a fair bit of daytime television. I must stop. Yeah. And one program that I quite like is a British program called Extreme Cake Bakers. This is people who bake very grand birthday cakes, okay, very elaborate ones. And basically they all do the same thing. Yeah. They make sponge, and then they build up the sponge, and then they cover it in ganache. Right, Marcia is saying ganache. What on earth is ganache? And that is exactly my reaction, okay? Even though I'm quite old, I had never heard the word ganache before. It's apparently a kind of buttercream that you cover the sponge in, okay? Right, so how do you spell it? Well, ganache, yeah? Starts with a G sound, which is going to be G, isn't it? People pronounce it ganache, sometimes with a schwa, ganache, but that's going to be an A letter, yeah? It's a N sound, so that's going to be an N letter, yeah? Ganache, that's another A, so that's going to be an A letter, and then you've got the sh at the end. Can you be sure how the sh is represented in spelling? No, you can't. The regular spelling of sh in English is sh, as in ship. Yeah, but of course, this is a cooking term, and quite a few cooking terms in English are from French. Yes, and Italian. Yeah. And ganache, yeah, that sounds as though it might be a French word, and indeed it is. And we're probably all familiar with the French word panache. Yeah. So in fact, ganache is G-A-N-A-C-H-E. Yeah. However, you're guessing a bit, you know, and that's what happens in English, but it doesn't really happen in Spanish or Malay. And there's the problem. Okay, enough of me talking. I've got 3 exercises. So would you like to bring up the first exercise, please? So this is an exercise trying to point out to learners of English that you can't rely on the spelling of English as far as the pronunciation is concerned. But of course, those learners may come from languages, or probably do come from languages, with a much more regular spelling system. So they're much more used to relying on the spelling to understand the pronunciation. Okay, let's go through it. Each row below contains 3 words. Yeah, so the first row is rose, whose, nose. Yeah. 2 of them have same sounding endings. In other words, they rhyme. And the third one is the odd one out. It has a different sounding ending. It has a different vowel sound. So this one is all about vowels. Okay. So would you like to go through this? In other words, you are in the shoes of your learners and just work out which one of those is the odd one out. So for example, in Rose, whose nose, the odd one out is?
Whose.
Whose, thank you. Yeah, this shouldn't take you long, okay? So I'll shut up now and you do the exercise, thank you. Yeah, I was going to say there are 20 items here. Can you scroll a bit? Thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
Sorry, Marsha, was that you highlighting them?
Yeah, with me. So
Okay.
I have a question. When we ask our students to do it, are we asking them to do it on the basis of their existing knowledge of these words and how they sound?
Yes, quite often, I often find a problem with writing materials for students is the level of the students, okay, and finding appropriate words which are at that level. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for
Sure.
yeah, so for example, you know, do the students know the word key, Q-U-A-Y, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you wanted to, you could quite easily tell the students, if you really don't know, just look it up in a dictionary.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would imagine everyone's done that, you know.
Yeah, I think so too.
You and me 1 minute to do this, but it will take your learners quite a bit longer, I imagine. Okay.
Right.
So
okay.
let me just go. 17 would be the same. No, okay. Okay.
Okay,
let me go.
So we have. Do you want me? Are you reading the comments and questions, or do you want
there's a chat thing, isn't there? Yeah. Okay. Can I point out? Okay.
All right. So let's just in case some people might be on screens where they're not able to see everything like the chat. So how about if we, if I read you the questions that have come up? So Seth says regarding this exercise, I'm wondering if some learners might be challenged by variations in regional dialects, wherein the vowel, you know, the vowel sound might be different from those characterized as whatever is considered standard. So how do you want to address that one?
Okay. Could you put me on the? Can you take down the?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I'm sorry about this, okay. I didn't really want to make this look like a big plug for a book that I've written, but it is, okay. I've written this book, Understanding and Teaching English Spelling.
Okay.
Which is this year published by Routledge in New York.
That looks pretty fat.
Sorry?
That looks pretty fat. It must have a lot of stuff in here.
It's 300, just over 300 pages long, and it contains. Oh, sorry, that's not the one. Sorry, it's this one. Activities and exercises for teaching English pronunciation. Sorry, this is the one. Yeah.
Okay.
This is not so fat, but it contains a lot of exercises which are photocopyable. Yeah.
Okay.
When I was writing, actually, those two books, this was a big problem that you can't avoid. Okay, regional variations. Yeah. So, for the activities and exercises for teaching English pronunciation, I used John Wells's Longman pronunciation dictionary. Yeah.
Okay, John Wells, yeah. Okay,
Standard British and standard American pronunciation.
okay.
Yeah. I can't, write exercises that take all accents of English into account.
No, naturally.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was going to say something else. Yes, my big problem as well when I was writing the book about English spelling was that because it was published by Routledge in New York, they wanted the book to be written in American spelling, despite the fact I'm British. Okay.
So color instead of colour.
Yeah, colour with or without the U, that kind of thing. In fact, those differences are not that large.
I know, they're not, they're really not.
Yeah? But of course, I talked about the differences between British and American spelling. Yeah. I also talked about old spellings of English words. I also talked about misspellings of words by learners and others. I also talked about reformed spellings that people have proposed. I also talked about what you might call nonce spellings. How do you feel about the word through being spelt THRU?
It's a nice abbreviation because it takes up less space if you have to write it.
Yeah, and those OUGH words are a big problem for all learners, okay?
Yes.
And would I be correct in the USA, just like elsewhere, if you go to a McDonald's drive-through, it's THRU?
Yeah.
Have a look next time you go. Yeah.
Oh, they're all that way, right? A drive-through. Who's going to spend all that? It costs too much to write a letter on a sign.
Exactly. So you can imagine what problems I had with spell checking my manuscript for that book.
I bet.
I just had to turn it off. Yes. So yes, obviously I can't take lots of regional variations into account. I just used the standard British and standard American, as in John Wells's Longman pronunciation dictionary. Yeah. Okay. Would you like to bring the handout back up, please?
Oh, I can do that. Let's see. Let me share that screen and bring this back up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I need to go through the answers, or are they?
Oh, I think maybe there are a couple of them that people had questions about. For example, number 13, there was a question about whether they are. Okay, could you tell us how you pronounce these three words in number 13?
Number 13 for me, and I am not rotic, so I don't pronounce the R's, yeah, are pour, for, flower. So flower is the odd one out.
Yes, okay, well, that's what I get to. Okay, so somebody thinks that they're all three different. Who thinks they would like to pronounce for us?
Yeah, that was me, Marcia. Can I try pronouncing them?
Yeah, let's hear your pronunciation.
Pour, for, flower.
Is there a difference for you between P-O-U-R and P-O-O-R?
The way that I pronounce them, they're the same.
Oh, okay.
Well, Randy, and where does that come from?
I think it's my dialect. I'm from the west.
The west of what?
West of the Mississippi.
Yeah, okay, but I don't say poor for that, only for the double O-R, meaning not rich. So I say poor. So other Californians, could you please chime in here? When you do this action, are you pouring or are you pouring? Do you pour or pour? Californians, what do you say? Westerners, Washingtonians?
Pouring.
Pouring.
You all say pour? Does anybody else say what Randy says as pour?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it's an idiolect.
Yeah, what most people are saying is what is given as standard American in the Longman pronunciation dictionary.
Yeah. Okay. So most of us are saying poor, like as Marla. Okay. What's another one that somebody said? What about gull? Wait. What is Marla? What did you want to say about that, Marla?
I think I misread it and thought that they were thinking that the sound was the one that would be in all three of them. I misread what the other person had said, so never mind.
Oh, never mind. Oh, you were on
Never
number
mind.
8. Okay, no
Yeah,
problem.
yeah,
That
yeah. It was the
number 8,
gull,
pull, gull,
pull,
dull.
dull.
Okay.
Mhm.
And
Exactly.
I had
And
tripped
pull,
over this word because I say quay, but I know it can be pronounced key, right?
yeah,
Meet
yeah,
you at the key.
yeah.
All right. Well, that's it. That's one that has more than one pronunciation.
Number 17, somebody's asking about. For
Okay.
me, those are, and in the dictionary, fury, jury, berry. Berry is the same as in strawberry.
Yeah, I would say the same.
Yeah. Again,
Yeah, that's what I say, but a lot of people where I live say bury.
Wait, who's speaking and where are you from?
Hi, this is Sarah Brown Hamilton. I'm in Vermont.
Okay.
And I say bury, but a lot of people around here would say bury.
Oh, they'd say bury? You mean?
Yeah, so fury, jury, bury.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
You bury the bones in the backyard? That's different.
That's what I would have said too, yeah.
Oh.
I mean, most people I know say bury or bury, but I grew up saying bury.
Where did you grow up? Is that fast?
Ohio with some also Ohio, but also but I had some East Coast influence.
Okay, well, that's cool. That's good to know.
Somebody has just pointed out that in British English, like for me, there are three totally different words: marry, merry, and Mary. Whereas for most Americans, those three are the same, I believe. Yeah. There are no examples of that in the book.
Yeah, I gotta avoid those.
What I'm taking is the standard pronunciations for standard British, standard American in the Longman Pronunciation Dictionary. There may be dialectal accent differences. For example, I mean, I went to university in Edinburgh in Scotland, and the Scots will pronounce some of these rather differently and so on. Yeah. One thing no two vowels are the same in some dialect. Okay. Yes.
So Longman Dictionary, right?
So what I say in the book is, well, here is an exercise that works in standard British and standard American accent. I encourage the readers, well, if it works for you, fine, photocopy it, use it in class. If it doesn't quite work for you, perhaps because of your particular accent, or perhaps because the words are a bit too difficult for your students or whatever, fine, create your own, but here's the model. Yeah, so get 3 words, okay, that are at your students' level and create your own.
This is Maya. What kind of explanation should we give our students when they ask why they're pronounced differently when they're spelled the same? I'm sure that's
exactly the point that I'm trying to make here, okay? You cannot rely on the spelling in English as a 100% reliable indicator of the pronunciation. A lot of the time, it's for historical reasons, yeah? In my book, there are chapters on the history of the English language and the history of English spelling, okay? I don't really have enough time now to talk about that.
Good.
Okay.
Is that all right? Yeah.
We just go in that, that's it. So
that was the takeaway from that one. Learners often can't rely on spelling as a clear indication of pronunciation, and mispronunciations will occur. You would understand it if a learner mispronounced the word whose as hose.
Okay. Right.
Because it's OSE, right?
Thank you.
What we're actually talking about there, we're getting on to homographs. Sorry, can you come back to my picture?
Okay,
Marsha?
sure enough.
Is homographs, yeah? I imagine most people have heard of homographs, yeah? That means words which are spelt the same, but are pronounced differently, yeah? In that last exercise, it wasn't whole words, it was spelling patterns within words, like OSE, for example. Yeah? For example, how do you people pronounce DOVE?
Yeah, it depends on what it's dove or a dove. A dove dove into the water.
Well, it depends. If it's a bird, it's a dove, right? If it's, you jumped into the water, it's dove, which incidentally in British English is dived. It's a regular verb in British English. Yep. Okay, so DOVE is a homograph, spelt the same way, but two different pronunciations. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you get quite a lot of these in English, okay, because of this many-to-one and one-to-many relationship in English. Yeah. You get homophones. So homo means same, phone means sound, that is pronunciation. So they are pronounced the same, but they are spelt differently. Yeah. You get homographs. So graph meaning writing, spelling. So words that are spelt the same, but are pronounced differently. Yeah. And you simply don't get these in Spanish or Malay, because in Spanish or Malay, you have this nice correspondence. Yeah. I should say there's a third type, homonyms. Some people use these terms differently. But here we're talking about words that are both spelt and pronounced the same, but it's not one word, they're two different words. If you think of the bark of a dog and the bark of a tree, they're both spelt B-A-R-K, they're both pronounced bark, with an R if you pronounce it, but it's not one word with two different meanings, okay? It's two different words which for historical reasons have come to be spelt and pronounced the same. Okay, so now that we've got on to homophones and homographs, you find that a lot of homophones and homographs occur in jokes in English.
Yeah.
And therefore, you're not going to find the same thing in Spanish and Malay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, would you like to, Marsha, could you please bring up exercise number 2?
All right, I'll be happy to do that. Let's do that. Exercise number 2.
Okay. So homophones, homographs, and homonyms often appear in jokes in English. Yeah, and that's what this one is about. In fact, the way I wrote it, it's what's called a pelmanism. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that word. It's where you put out a lot of things on the table and students pick up 2, and if they belong together, they keep it. If they don't belong together, they put it down and the next student tries.
What did you call that? Pelmanism?
Pelmanism, P-E-L-M-A-N-ism, pelmanism. That's the exercise I wrote in the book, but here I'm going to do it as a question and answer session. Yeah, answer exercise. So here I've given you the answers. Yeah, and then I will give you the the questions, okay, and you will work out which of these answers is the right one. Let me just go through the answers quickly. If you are rote, you will pronounce the R's in there. So board or board, yeah. Next one, it gets towed. Because all the others are weekdays. Because his grades were all below sea level. Pairs or pairs. Because they're always spreading tails. The customer says, "Thank you, you're cute too." It was a hare or hare. Damn. Let us pray. Because he couldn't make a U-turn. High school. It gives a little wine. Because the referee shouted foul. Please scroll up, please. He only ate Swedes. Marsha, could you scroll up for some more?
Yeah.
She was afraid of the night. Customer, what is it now? Because they have lots of stories. At Sunday school, it was having pains. Okay, if you could look at all of those, I will now read the question and you tell me which is the answer that makes the joke. So, first one, where do you learn to greet people? Shout out when you see the right answer. Where do you learn to greet people?
High school.
Thank you. High school, namely HIGH, high school, or high school. Yeah.
Okay.
Why was the boy's school report card wet?
Because his grades were all below sea level.
Right. So C, the letter C, or C, SEA. What did the fish say when it hit a concrete wall?
Damn.
Thank you. Damn, with or without a final N. What do you call a piece of wood with nothing to do?
Board.
Thank you. Why are libraries so tall?
They have lots of stories.
Stories, right. Actually, you don't. For you, a story, meaning a floor of a building, is S-T-O-R-Y, correct?
Yes, without
And
an
the,
extra
and
E.
the plural is I-E-S.
I-E-S, yeah.
Right. So for you, that's a homonym, okay? In British English, it's S-T-O-R-E-Y and E-Y-S. Okay.
And
Rita.
even when I try to write, I'm writing it S-T-O-R-E-Y, and it's correcting me. It won't allow me to do this.
Because your spell checker is set to American English.
My spell checker says, "What is that?" Okay, I have to pound it in there.
Yeah, exactly. Next one. The waiter says, "It's bean soup, sir." The waiter says, "It's bean soup, sir." What does the customer say?
What is it now?
Thank you. What is it now?
But I didn't understand what you said, Adam.
It's bean soup, sir.
Oh, it's bean soup. Okay.
Super. Super.
What is
Yeah.
it? It's bean soup. Okay, so it's
Yeah.
bean. Yes, it's a very British bean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why did the girl run away from the dark castle?
Because she was afraid of the night.
Yes, the night or the knight. Yes,
She was afraid of the night ahead.
yes, with or without a K.
Mhm.
Why are Saturday and Sunday the strongest days of the week?
Because all the other days are weekdays.
W-E-E or E-A-K, yeah.
Mm.
What happens when a frog's car breaks down?
It gets towed.
You get
Oh.
It gets towed. The toad is a big frog, right? The magician didn't pull a rabbit out of his hat. The magician didn't pull a rabbit out of his hat.
Pull the hair.
It was a hare.
Ooh, it was a
Yep.
hair. Mhm.
Hare, a big rabbit, hare.
Yes.
Where do you learn to make ice cream?
Sunday school.
At Sunday school.
Really?
Waiter, you're sweet, sir.
Mm.
Thank you. You're cute too.
Thank you, you're cute too. Right. Why should you not tell secrets to peacocks?
They're
Because they're spreading tails. They're always
Tails.
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 Ah.
Stories, tails.
spread
And last
Ah.
one. What fruit do socks prefer to eat?
pears.
Pears, because you get a pair of socks. Yes. Okay. Did you find that difficult? Would your learners find that difficult?
Well,
Yes.
They take a bit of time, and we might,
Yeah.
depending on their level, we'd have to do maybe fewer
Yep.
cases, but with a teacher group,
Yeah.
we can do all of them.
And as I keep saying, some of these, I wonder if you could write the text for the bean soup exchange. If you make a soup out of beans, it's bean soup, right?
Can you, was it this, did I write it properly? It's bean soup,
Yeah,
sir?
yes, that's right. Or
Okay.
it's BEEN soup. It
Yeah.
has been soup. Well, what is it now? Yep. Okay. Yeah, and again, I emphasize, make sure this is okay at the right level for your students,
Right.
and also modify it, create your own if necessary. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So let's sort of debrief from that one. What have we learned? Well, learners would have learned that there are most of these are homophones in English. Yeah. Whereas there may be very few homophones in their own language. They also learn some English jokes, which they might be very happy about. Do you remember any foreign language jokes that you came across in foreign language lessons?
No, I remember a pun in French, piqûre, épicure,
Yes.
épicure. I won't be able to do the diacritical remarks, but it was, I'll put it in the chat.
Dépicure.
Sorry.
Ah.
Dépicure. Okay. Yeah. Let me tell you one that I remember from when I learned French. Do some of you know some French? Yeah. At school a few years ago. Yeah. Okay. Somebody went into a sauna and the person asked, voulez-vous bain simple ou avec masseur? For those of you who don't know French, okay, voulez-vous, do you want? Bain, bath, simple, simple, just a regular bath. Ou, or, avec, with, masseur. A masseur is somebody who does massage. It can, of course, be ma sœur, my sister. So would you like my sister to get in the bath with you?
Mhm.
Okay. Well, I remember that from 50 years ago, okay? And I imagine students would enjoy learning some jokes in English. Yeah? It emphasizes the fact you can't rely on the spelling and the pronunciation, okay? There are lots of homophones and homographs. Yeah. Okay, can we go on to the third one?
Yes, let's do that.
I imagine some of you, judging by the color of your hair and your beards, okay, remember the 1980s and communicative language teaching, yeah, which was flavor of the month from the 1980s onwards, yeah. Part of the problem here was a lot of people found it difficult. Well, how do we incorporate pronunciation into specifically pronunciation teaching into communicative language learning? And I wrote an exercise which I think does that. Okay. For this, the learners are in pairs, but for this presentation, I'm one member of the pair and you are the other member. One person has the stimulus sentences, that's me, and you have the answers, which are the responses on your screen. I will read out, so one of the learners in each pair reads out their choice of one of two stimuli which I give you. And then the learners respond by reading out the response that makes sense to what I said. Are you with me?
Yes.
Yep.
Got it.
Okay. In that case, let me do the first one. My cousin's name is Alan.
I know, I've met him.
Thank you. I've met him, not her, because I didn't say Ellen. Is anyone going to say that they pronounce the boy's name Alan and the girl's name Ellen the same?
No.
I think those are different. Yeah. Right? Do we all
Yeah.
pronounce them differently?
In standard accents they are, but as we've seen, there may be some accents where that doesn't work.
I think so. I think those are great.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do number 2. there's a bend in the road.
Slow down. It's sharp. What?
Yeah, it's a sharp U-bend, yes. Bend, not band.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
But
it's
we
not a
would
band.
say U-turn instead of it's a sharp.
Mhm.
No, a U-turn is not necessarily a bend. is it?
No, it's a
Yeah, okay.
sharp.
Yeah.
Okay.
You-
Okay, got it.
You really have to think in order to get, you know, two answers. This one works for that, and that one works for this, and that one, etc. Yeah.
Mhm.
And number 3. Why did he mark the tree with an axe?
To indicate that it was to be preserved.
So he marked it
Oh,
with an
I'm
axe.
sorry. I'm sorry. No, I heard it wrong. Yeah.
If you chop a tree with an axe, you're not going to preserve it, I think. Okay? Yeah.
Pull it off, please.
So that's one. The other one was, why did he mark it with an X, letter X? Yeah. Okay, number 4. My father is dead.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yes, it's not my father is dad, D-A-D.
My father's dad.
Yeah. Oh, I call mine Papa. Number 5. What's the price of that gem?
Gem?
Probably $5,000.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes, $5 is too cheap for jewelry, right?
Mm.
Okay, what was in the rack?
Rack.
Yes, a
Maybe.
rack. What was in the rack?
Toast.
Americans have toast racks?
I don't know.
Is that very
Oh,
British?
you mean
A rack where you,
I don't know. I don't have treasures either. So do I keep my treasure in a rack?
no, you find it in a rack.
You find that? What do you find in a rack? A rack. What do you find in a rack? What do you find in a rack?
Right.
I think it's a ship. The wreck is like a shipwreck.
A shipwreck. You find treasure.
Oh, treasure in the
Find a
shipwreck.
treasure.
Because
Yeah.
I was thinking in
Okay.
a car wreck, and okay.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Number 7. How much is your salary?
Well, they could
30.
both be true.
Well, that would be terrible, wouldn't it? Yes. Hmm.
30,000.
30,000 because
hope
I didn't say the vegetable celery,
Okay.
which is $3. Yep. Why did the kettle feel so hot?
Yes.
It had just boiled.
Yes, it's a kettle. It's not cows, cattle.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Why was Jim paddling so hard?
Probably because there was a strong current in the river.
Yes, he's paddling a canoe, right?
Yep.
He's not pedaling a bicycle.
Okay.
Yeah. Which trek did you like best?
Taylor Swift.
I like the one in Nepal.
Yes, it's not the track by Taylor Swift.
Oh.
Yeah, okay.
Trek
Okay.
versus track. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. So it's communicative because you have to listen to me and you have to understand what I said, and then you have to work out which one is the right answer to that. Yeah.
Right.
I like this exercise because the learners are working in pairs, and they may be surprised, you know, that this person didn't understand what I said. Yeah, they understood the wrong one.
Well, because sometimes
Mhm.
learners think that they do it right, and only their partner doesn't do it right, and then they find out that they're misunderstood as well, just as much as your partner is.
Yeah. So there's a sort of affective element to this. In other words, changing your opinion. You know, you're realizing people don't understand me. Yeah. And it can even be two learners from the same nationality, the same language.
Right. It could be.
Yep.
Yeah.
What has this got to do with spelling?
Mm-hmm.
What has
Well,
this
in
got
the
to do
case
with-
in the case of this past exercise, like, and one of the things is like, it would be good that we would teach them in the beginning that, for example, Ellen is typically a woman's name and Alan a man's name, things like that. So some cultural background along with the pronunciations of Ellen and Alan and track and so forth. So these words would be practiced ahead of time before we have them
Okay.
do this type of exercise, either with teacher fronted or else pairs.
Yeah.
Right? And then we also, if we choose something like the e and a sounds, they begin to notice, especially if they are delivering the prompt, that there are some spelling patterns of how they are spelled.
Exactly. So how is the a vowel usually spelt? What letters?
Short
A, full stop.
A.
Yep. The a vowel is spelt with an A letter virtually 100% of the time.
Mhm.
Yep. There are very, very, very few counterexamples to that. For example, if you plait your hair, which is P-L-A-I-T, there's a counterexample.
What is that? What is that word?
Plait, P-L-A-I-T. You don't use that in American?
No.
No, we say plate. Don't we say plate? What do we say in America?
I would have said plate. Yeah, but I could.
Well, I mean, like, I think we say braid, but we also use the word plates. Like, you know, like if we read it in a book, somebody's writing about their braided or plaited hair. I've never heard plait. But I know another word is
Yep.
the plaid. You know, the
Yeah,
kind of
P-L-A-I-D, a sort of check
Yeah.
tartan kind of thing. That is plaid for you, is it? That's plaid
Yes.
for me.
Is it plaid for you
Okay.
too? Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yes, yeah. So for me, both plait and plaid.
Oh, okay.
Plaid.
Well, that's always good to learn.
There are also a few foreign words like meringue.
Ah, yeah. Well, you know, those French.
Okay, because they're foreign. Yes. Okay. So the a vowel is spelt with an A letter more or less 100% of the time. This is a good 100% rule of English. How is the e vowel spelt?
E.
Yep. E, as in Ellen and bend and so on. That's the main one. Any others?
Yes. E-A.
Yeah, EA, as in thread or deaf or something like that. Yeah, those are the two main ones for e.
Yeah.
And there are more smaller examples of that. Yeah. In other words, the spelling here is a pretty good indication of which vowel the student should be aiming for. You know, whether they can pronounce it or not is another matter, but of course they now know which vowel they should be aiming for. Okay, can I conclude with two things?
Yes.
Yep. We're all English language teachers, I think, okay, and some people in the chat column here have been sort of asking, why is this and why is that and why the other and da 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 da. And of course, that's what our learners, our students ask us, you know, why is it spelt that way? Well, I could tell you by talking about the history of English, but I'm not sure that's really going to help you very much because, you know, it's pretty complex. Yeah, and very often, especially with spelling, the only answer I can really give is, well, I didn't invent English spelling, I just teach it. This is true of some other aspects of language as well. You know, I didn't invent English, I just teach it. It's spoken around the world, so it's not going to change substantially. Okay, people have talked about spelling reform. There's a small chapter in my book about spelling reform. Yeah, of course, if I ruled the world and if I had invented English, it would be much, much, much more regular than it actually is, because it would be much more phonemic, shall we say. That's the reason why you have phonemic transcription in English, but not so much in other languages. You don't need it. The spelling is tantamount to a phonemic transcription. Yeah. So that's the last thing I really want to say. Okay, if you want to bring up these flyers now, Marsha, I have a kind of present for you.
I was showing them while you were talking.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so
Marsha, yeah, that's it. Marsha has made available 2 flyers. Yeah. I didn't want this presentation to seem like a gigantic plug for my 2 books. Okay. But you know, this is all stuff that you would be interested in. This one that's showing at the moment, activities and exercises for teaching English pronunciation. I wrote last year during lockdown, and could I ask you, could you please ask your institutional library to buy a copy of the book? Yeah, because it contains a lot of photocopiable exercises. Yeah, but as I say, you might want to adapt them to the level of your students and so on. The other one was 2019, I think it was. This is all about English spelling, but of course, English spelling, because of the alphabetic principle, is supposed to represent English pronunciation. So there's a lot in this about pronunciation as well. You'll notice in red, 2/3 of the way down, 20% discount available if the checkout, if you enter that code. I've checked with Routledge and they say that they will honor that discount. As I say, if you'd like to get your institutional library to buy a copy of that, thank you very much.
Yeah,
okay, that's all I wanted to cover today. Thank you.
Oh, good. Okay, we have a question.
Yes, is there any way that you could maybe flip some of the pages in your book, the one of activities, just to get an idea of what it physically looks like?
Yes, okay.
All the fun ones.
The fun ones, there we are.
All right.
So what about this? Okay, so this is where you start as a game and you have
It looks like Monopoly, right? Yep.
Okay.
Get some counters go around. The learners answer questions like, which do you prefer, American or British English pronunciation, and why? Yeah. Name one famous person who you think has a nice accent of English. So again, this is the affective aspect of it, how you feel about English. Yeah. What should we do now? Let me show you another one or two. The 3 that we've done today are from this book. Yeah.
All right.
This is a British one, but there's an American one as well. You start at the bottom, driving the car, and you go left or right. You are only going to places that have stress on the 3rd syllable. So this is a game, and it's all about stress. There we go. There, I can't quite see. Yes, okay. You are the lady there, and you are going to those countries. Only going to countries that have stress on the 2nd syllable.
Oh, all right.
So again, it's a game. You can make it, you know, whoever does it first and so on. I've got quite a few of these in pairs. So this is 1/2 of it. So for number 1, the other student says, either, is it a picture of your hands, or is it an X-ray of your feet?
All right.
Yeah. And if they say, is it a picture of your hands? You answer, no, it's an X-ray of my hands. Stress on X-ray. There's the correction. If you ask, is it an X-ray of your feet? You say, no, it's an X-ray of my hands. The stress is on hands. That's the correction. So
Okay.
putting the stress in the right place on the in the sentence. Okay.
Okay, so what is good to show is that though the exercises that you gave us today were concentrating on vowel sounds, whereas the ones that are in your book include many other things, including supersegmentals, such as
Oh, yes.
yeah. So
Yes,
that's a good thing to
Yeah.
point out. Okay,
Can
great.
I point out the ones I used today are the ones that relate to spelling?
That's correct. Right. Because we were talking mainly
Whereas
about
those I've just shown you don't relate to spelling.
right.
Okay?
So it's broader. It has a lot more other things in there.
You can be the dinosaur when you're going to your nest. Only treading where the word contains the y consonant, the J symbol.
Okay.
That kind of thing. Okay?
Okay. Good.
You are the spider. You have to get to the middle of your web, only going through words that contain the a vowel.
Okay, cool. All right, great. Thank you so much. I have one more question that somebody asked here. I'm not sure if this is something you have, you can answer, but the question is about dyslexia. I mean, do you have any advice for teaching students with dyslexia?
I'm sorry to say this, but my simple answer is no.
Okay, well,
okay.
Answer.
Dyslexia is a pretty specialized thing. Okay, it's a medical, psychological thing, and what have you. And I simply don't have the background to say much about that.
I have one question. Susan actually asked me about my pronunciation book, which is called Phrase by Phrase. So I just wanted to put that up here in case anybody else has this question too. What's the best way to contact me? And I'll just say send information to info@sunburstmedia.com and get more information about getting the Phrase by Phrase book. Adam, I think this is really very helpful. And I would like to ask our group to give you an applause for helping us with the understanding of things that are related to both pronunciation and spelling. So thank you very much, Adam Brown.
You're welcome. I've enjoyed it. Yes.
I'd like to end by saying a few more things about teaching or pronunciation and encourage you to continue to be part of our group, whether you are a member of CATISO or a guest. We did have a conference recently. And one of the things we did at our business meeting, we went through a number of things on our business meetings, which we called mixing and mingling with teachers of pronunciation. We also talked about the various webinars and workshops that we gave in this past year. So some of you have been here with us all of this time and you have accessed the various events. But those of you who are new may wonder, well, what are we doing? Every single month, we have a webinar, and these are the ones that we gave in the past year. So there's really quite a lot. We offer these on our website, catiso.org, under online training as recorded events as well. So if you missed the attendance at any one of them, you will be able to catch up with us because in top, unlike some of the IGs, we are pretty good about recording and then making available the archives to our wonderful webinars. So please note that you can access them on catiso.org. The other thing is that we try to do a survey every year to find out what our members are interested in. And I won't tell you all of the stuff that we had here, but I just wanted to say that so far our members feel that our events provide teachers of pronunciation with great value. So we had a lot of 4s and 5s. We also had some comments from our members about what are the highlights, what they like most about the events, and if they have some sorts of suggestions or improvements. It's because we're always learning and want to get better and better. So we have these to go on in our team. And as I said, this year our team is joining me, Randy Reitmeyer and Patrick Mrozic. We will be looking over these to help bring to you this academic year the kind of presentations and workshops that you have expressed interest in. In this past conference year, we decided to open up a Padlet. We have put together a Padlet which tells you what the purpose of this group is and some photos of those who have been leading this group, access to recorded professional development webinars that we've had for the past couple of years, as well as other kinds of news and communication. So this is another way for you to keep in touch with us. I'd like to close by saying that we're very appreciative of our guest speaker, Adam Brown, for coming all the way from New Zealand to California. Thank you so much. Keep in touch with us. We will let you know what other exciting events we will have in the brand new year.